Today on CJ Off-Road, we're going to be installing a Daystar 2-inch performance lift kit onto our brand new 2020 Jeep Gladiator. Now, the suspension system from Daystar features everything that you need to get your Gladiator up in the air and be able to fit some larger tires. We're working on a 2020 Overland, and today this kit is going to get us up in the air and allow us to run a new set of wheels and tires, which we'll have in store for you later on once we finish this up. Now, some of the benefits of this kit is that it includes everything you need to get it bolted up onto your Jeep Gladiator. That includes lower control arms, shock extensions, as well as these polyurethane reinforced Kevlar spacers here that are not going to rip, fade, tear, anything like that, and they're going to last for years to come. It also includes brand new sway bar links, bump stop extensions, and all the necessary hardware to get it bolted up to your Jeep. Now, Daystar says you can run up to a 37-inch tire on our JT Gladiator. However, I think we're going to keep it a nice mid-comfortable range at a 35, but we've got some new wheels and tires in store for our Gladiator, so you guys are going to have to stay tuned. Watch the whole video because we're going to throw in a new set, show you guys what the stance looks like, so let's get started. First thing that we're going to do is use a 22mm socket to ditch these factory Overland wheels. Now, these things are great if you want to keep it stock, but for us here at CJ Off-Road, they're not going to do, so there's 300 miles on them and they're about to go, so let's get them pulled off. First thing that we're going to do is get the front axle supported after we've got the wheels and tires off, and then remove the sway bar links. On the passenger side, you only need an 18mm socket because there is a flag nut on the inside, so it'll catch. And then up top, we're going to use an 18 as well with an Allen key inside there so it doesn't spin. But let's get this off a while. Then remove the bolt, flip that out of there, and we'll set this aside. I like to put them right back where I pulled them off, put the flag nut on. That way when we pull the sway bar off, we know exactly where the bolts went so we can swap them over to the new pieces. Then using an 18mm socket and wrench, remove the lower shock bolt. After you've got that removed, remove the 15mm nut that holds on the ABS and brake line bracket on your lower control arm. And I like to set the nut right back into place after you pull off the bracket. Using a 21mm socket, remove the lower track bar bolt. This will allow the axle to droop more. After you've got that track bar bolt out, you can see we've got a ton more droopage here in our front axle. So we can just easily remove the factory front spring. And then the isolator up top. Just like that. So now we're going to remove the lower control arm. Since the Daystar kit provides us brand new ones, use a 24mm box wrench on the back and then a 21mm socket on the smaller of the two. Then do the same up top here. Then pull the control arm off. Now we're going to install the new lower control arms from Daystar. Putting this top section in first, put the factory bolt in through the outside and line it up, and then put the 24mm nut inside there. Pull it a little, just a tad, just there. Now we're going to install the Daystar polyurethane spacer up front here by slipping it over and then making sure the little nib lines up in there. So after you have this slid on, it's going to actually insert into the holes that are on the top of the spring perch there. They're not going to line up now until we put the spring in. You won't need the isolator either because this already has the indent here. So we're just going to go ahead and set this in. We're going to set the spring into place, line that up with the hole. We're going to sit on our shock spacer right on here using the factory bolt in the lower mount with the spacer inside there and then the factory nut on the back side. Now up top where the shock would go, you're going to go ahead and grab one of the included bolts with a washer. I'm just going to set it in there for now. Throw a washer on the back side and then the included nylock lock nut. And then down below there's one smaller bolt we should have to go put in. That's going to hold this entire thing in place, but we want to make sure we have the shock in before we get this in and all tightened up. That way it's exactly where it needs to sit. I have to put a nut below the bump stop here. That way it can thread on. Pick the front axle up and set your bolts in through, washer on the back, and a nylon lock nut behind there. Now all this is attached. We can go ahead and get all this tightened down, do the exact same on both sides. Then we can start getting everything tightened up. We keep a lot of things loose on suspension, that way you can move it around, but we'll get these tightened up, get the lower control arms tightened up when it's on the ground, and then go up front and install our brand new sway bar links. So now the last thing we've got to do up front is install our included sway bar links. These are going to be the shorter of the two lengths. Over on the driver's side, you will use the factory flag nut down below. And then on the passenger side, you just have a standard bolt and nut down there. So I'm just going to get that snugged up. And then up top here, we're going to use the included bolt, 2 washers, and nylon lock nut. Top bolt, we're going to use a 19mm socket and a 19mm wrench to get that tightened up. After that's all tightened down, we're going to move on to the rear. First thing that you'll remove in the rear is going to be the shock bolt that holds on the lower portion of the shock. Now these are bigger than the front. You're actually going to need a 21mm socket and 21mm box wrench on the back, so pull these off first. We do have the rear axle supported, so we can remove the sway bar links and adjust it as needed. Being that this is the first time we're working on the back of a Gladiator, there's only going to be 2 nuts. Well, there's going to be 1 nut on the lower section here, just like the front of the JL. And then up top, there's actually a welded on section on the back, so you only have to remove the bolt. So it's pretty interesting to see all this and finally get to work on it. And just in case this doesn't want to spin right off, you need to use a 6mm Allen key and then an 18mm to hold the center and pull it off. So slide that on first, put the 6 in the center, and you can just hold it or spin one and the other, vice versa. See if we can get a full rotation, and we can. Of course, I would have to have them on my fucking side too. Huh? After the nut is removed, we're going to pull that top one off. Then remove the sway bar. Now we're going to lower the rear axle down as much as we can so we can get the spacers underneath these springs. We're going to do the same thing in the rear, remove the lower track bar bolt and get the track bar out of the way. It's holding us up, and these springs in the back of the JT are really tall because they have to support a lot of weight and be able to tow, so a little bit bigger than the JL, and they don't want to come out as easy. We're going to use Brendan's help to pull down on the axle, slide the Daystar spacer up under there, and just like that, it's on. This is how the rear shock relocation is going to look. It's going to space it up about 2 inches. Lower bolt you're going to use from Daystar, and then the upper is going to be the factory. It should look exactly like this with the spacer in between there, and then up top with the factory bolt. Now it's time to install the rear extended sway bar links. You want them with the bow facing towards the outside, meaning the top will go in towards the vehicle. Now at the top point, use the factory bolt. Now for the bottom part, use a bolt washer. Go all the way through, washer on the back side, and then a nylon lock nut. We're going to get these both tightened down. Repeat all these exact same processes on the other side, and that's it for the install. All right guys, so we just finished up the Daystar 2-inch spacer lift on our brand new 2020 Jeep Gladiator. And overall, the installation was really simple. You get everything that you need included with the kit, so that makes it for a really easy install, and you don't need any other extra parts when doing this kit. As you can see, it picked up the Jeep to a nice and even leveling point. Now in the rear of the Gladiator, they are up naturally higher just because they're rated for towing and whatnot. So in the back, you only get a smaller spacer, but up front, you get about a 3-inch spacer. It levels out to about 2 once you put some weight on it. Now we've got some 35s on here, and it looks absolutely awesome with these Fuel Vengeance wheels and 35-inch BF Goodrich KO2s. You can also get a wheel and tire set up here at CJ's. They come mounted and balanced, shipped right to your door for free, which is really awesome. After you do this lift, you can pop these on and give your Gladiator a brand new look. Now, if you want to find this Daystar spacer lift as well as many other great parts for your brand new Gladiator, be sure to check us out at cjponyparts.com. Hope you enjoyed that video. To stay up to date on our CJ Off-Road videos, make sure to subscribe up top here. And for any other installs, make sure to click the link right above.